Today, Junior?
Welcome to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and let's start with the red-hot Rockets, who have spent the last couple weeks making me reevaluate my stance that general manager Rafael Stone is a clown. On March 4th, I put out an episode posing the question, WTF is wrong with the Rockets? Since then, the Rockets have gone 8-1, beating the Chicago Bulls last night in an impressive win that brings their tally to 7 in a row. A lot has happened with the Rockets in the month of March, but the most important thing we've seen is the lack of a surefire identity, which under a month ago had me throwing my hands up and questioning the direction of the team's rebuild on the whole, has finally given way to a clear-cut brand of basketball that the players and fans alike can get behind. The Rockets are going to outwork other teams. They're going to out-hustle other teams. They're going to play aggressive, and most importantly, they're not going to take shit from anyone. Toughness. That's the identity that Ime Udoka has chosen for his squad. So if you're like me, and you were wondering what Dillon Brooks was going to contribute longer term beyond this season, or why we traded for Steven Adams, who couldn't even play this year, it's because Ime Udoka wants dudes who are not to be fucked with anchoring the team and backing up the superstar talent. Last night, for example, when DeMar DeRozan very intentionally steamrolled Jaylen Green off a screen, Dillon Brooks was quick to get in his face, tell him to eat shit, and make sure that a dirty play against arguably Houston's best player didn't go without a response. We've been scrapping quite a bit this season, and I expect that'll be ratcheted up next year because as far as enforcers go, Steven Adams is roughly 3 times more intimidating than Dillon Brooks. This era of the NBA, pretty soft overall. There aren't many teams focusing on bully ball or refusing to be pushed around. So this will be extremely fun to watch, and because frankly nobody is going to be scared of Jaylen Green or Alperen Sengun, who are the clear-cut 1A and 1B options offensively for this team, you need guys who are bringing some thunder and edginess to the lineup, and we have that in Dillon Brooks and Steven Adams next year. Jaylen Green, who is still just 22 years old, and for 2 seasons straight, really, I've complained about his lack of consistency, his failure to take the next step in his development. He has finally done so after getting 39-year-old Drea Michelle pregnant. All he needed to do was make a baby. Never underestimate the power of knocking up a MILF, a route I have gone myself. Jaylen has been phenomenal in March. He has been the player we all want to see him be, looked every bit the dude we thought he had a chance to become when the Rockets drafted him, which is absolutely essential for this Rockets young core to shine. And obviously, Alperen Sengun got injured a few weeks ago, but we avoided what looked like it could have been a far more severe injury. And if those 2 guys, Alperen and Jaylen, are both healthy and playing to their full potential, with a veteran point guard leading the offense who has had one of, if not his best season as a pro in Fred VanVleet, with a veteran defensive anchor and enforcer in Steven Adams, with a bad boy in Dillon Brooks, with another potential up-and-coming star in Amen Thompson, who has continued to be extremely impressive in stretches, and particularly defensively, with the other young developing talent, now, finally, you can see where the Rockets are headed. And the vision that Rafael Stone had for this team is finally taking shape. By the way, with all the focus on Jaylen Green and Alperen Sengun, not enough can be said about Amen Thompson and how much he has developed this year under coach Ime Udoka. Amen has been drawing comps to Scottie Pippen and the like. And remember, he's just 21 years old as well, so he's another guy that's sub 23, right? And he's been a pivotal piece of this team, not only helping us survive Alperen Sengun's absence, but helping us thrive during it. And on that note, if you've been privy to certain low IQ members of the media arguing in an underhandedly racist way that the Rockets are clearly better off without Alperen Sengun, please ignore anyone expressing such sentiments. That is patently ignorant, borderline criminal, egregiously stupid takes. which no one that knows ball would dare utter. Shameful and goofy. Now, there are just 13 games left in the Rockets' regular season. And the Rockets, at 34 wins and 35 losses, not only have a real shot at ending this season at 500 or above, but still have an outside shot at making the play-in tournament this year, as they sit just 2.5 games back of the Golden State Warriors and 3 games back of the Los Angeles Lakers, both of whom are perfectly capable of blowing it down the stretch. All things considered, this season has been a massive success, and this past month has swung things very much in that direction, where before this month was looking wishy-washy, didn't really know what to make of what we had done this year. And now I feel a lot more confident. This team is taking the steps forward we wanted to see. First-year head coach Ime Udoka has had a tremendous impact on the young core talent. And if you're a Rockets fan like me, who is experiencing his first full-blown rebuild really ever in my lifetime, things are starting to get really, really exciting again. Now, as far as the Texans go, Nick Caserio and the Texans have continued making fans happy during the offseason with a number of big moves to bring back key pieces from last season and adding talent that could very much make this team an AFC championship contender next season. They re-signed Kaimi Fairbairn to a 3-year contract extension. Fairbairn is awesome. We saw what happened when Fairbairn went down this year. He's one of the best kickers in the league. He's a guy that you want to have locked in. 3 more years, 3-year contract extension. Great move. Dalton Schultz, our tight end, who I was not confident would get brought back, signed to a 3-year contract as well. Cool to see that they have faith in Dalton Schultz. I think when all things were said and done, he was the best available tight end. So bringing him back, another great move. They re-signed cornerback Chris Boyd to a new contract, safety Eric Murray to a 1-year contract, re-signed Desmond King, another corner, to a 1-year contract, re-signed defensive tackle Khalil Davis. And a lot of these contracts, you'll notice, are either 1 or 2 years. They're really making guys earn it. Team-friendly, savvy contracts that they're handing out here. We lost Jonathan Grenard to the Vikings, but took edge rusher Danielle Hunter from the Vikings and gave him a 2-year contract. Huge move. Hunter had 16 sacks last year, and if you imagine him and Will Anderson Jr. as the bookends of the defensive line, that's some scary shit. It's going to be very, very fun to watch. And talking in terms of the defense, they also grabbed defensive end Danico Autry on a 2-year deal. Autry had a career-high 11.5 sacks last season, plus 12 tackles for a loss with the Tennessee Titans. And in Autry's last 3 seasons combined, he has 28.5 sacks, 54 quarterback hits, 30 tackles for loss. All impressive numbers, right? They also grabbed former Titans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair on a 3-year deal. The defense is undeniably stacked now, right? We knew that head coach DeMeco Ryans, obviously we saw what he did as a Houston Texan. We saw what he did as the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, that he's a defensive-minded guy. That defense was probably going to be the identity of this team, right? CJ Stroud doing what he did last year kind of shuffled the deck a little bit, because we have a very clear superstar talent at quarterback leading the offense. The defense was okay last year. It wasn't great, but I think with all these additions, they have given the defense a chance to become something really, really special and to cement that defensive-minded team effort that you expect with a head coach like DeMeco Ryans. Very, very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff, because here, in part, I don't think anybody's questioning whether or not we'll be able to put points on the board, because CJ Stroud is that dude. So if you can stack the defense and put together something special on that side of the ball, suddenly you have a very complete team that is going to be very competitive. We also brought back wide receiver Noah Brown on a 1-year deal. I was not sure if Noah Brown would come back. He showed flashes last year. He also had trouble staying healthy last year. Again, it's a 1-year deal. It's a prove it. It's a show me what you've got deal for Noah Brown. There were other moments for Noah Brown, like I said, showed flashes where you thought, like, okay, shit, this guy could be like our wide receiver 3. But yet to be determined. Still, you need people to catch footballs, right? And in this case, with his signing and also Dalton Schultz coming back on a 3-year, $36 million contract, you've got guys that CJ Stroud is already familiar with, right? You've got guys, he's not having to deal with a whole bunch of new faces on offense for the most part, because we also traded for former Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon in a move that was frankly a little bit shocking. The running game was not good last season. We had a few games here and there that were like, okay, shit, we're finally establishing the run. But overall, total lack of consistency in that realm, a lot of which I thought could be chalked up to the offensive line. Maybe not so much, though. Joe Mixon is a dude that when he came into the league, everybody expected big things from. Obviously, he's been to a Super Bowl and lost it with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. But this feels like it could be a big addition on the offensive side of the ball. Really the biggest one of the offseason. And running game last year was a problem. You bring in Joe Mixon, give him a chance. We'll see what happens there as well. He's a guy that can catch the football as well. You have to think CJ Stroud would have signed off on this move, right? Clearly Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans would have as well, and have to believe that Joe Mixon has something to offer because they not only traded for him, but gave him a 3-year, $27 million contract extension. So now we've got Joe Mixon for the foreseeable future. He's still under 30 years old, but he's been in the league for several years. He's not exactly, on his second or third year coming off a rookie contract or whatever. So we'll be really, really interested to see how Joe Mixon performs as the Texans' starting running back next season. Nick Caserio went off. He did exactly what we needed him to do this offseason, because when you've got somebody like CJ Stroud on a rookie deal, which he's on his rookie deal next season and the 2 after that. It's a 4-year deal that he signed, fully guaranteed when we drafted him. He's played 1 season. He's got 3 more on this rookie deal, right? You have to figure at some point, probably after year 2 or 3, they restructure his contract or extend it or whatever, but just to make sure that we don't lose him, because that would be a fucking disaster. But Nick Caserio, the Texans general manager, did what you had. This is when, if you look back at the last 10, 20 years in the NFL, teams that find a superstar talent at quarterback, have them on a rookie deal, and then use their cap space, their money, to go and build around them as quickly and efficiently as possible. Like, efficiently meaning a lot of these deals, 1 year, 2 years. We're not getting hamstrung by these long-term deals that are going to put us in a shitty position for years to come. This is when you make a push for the Super Bowl. This is when your odds are highest, when you've got a real chance to do something. And as we saw in the playoffs with the Texans beating the living shit out of the Browns before running into the Ravens last season, they were right there already. And if you look at all the additions and the re-signings that Nick Caserio just pulled off, pretty tough to argue that the Texans didn't take at least 1 or 2 steps forward and become even more dangerous. Now, there are a number of factors that will come into play, like health. Everybody's got to stay healthy. Certainly the most important person that has to stay healthy is still CJ Stroud. He cannot go down or everything fucking falls apart. But if you can keep Stroud healthy, you can keep the offensive line from getting as banged up as they were at the beginning of last season. If you can keep Joe Mixon out there running the football and establish a running game more consistently, we've got offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick back. A lot of us were concerned that Bobby Slowick would be gone, right? So there's continuity for CJ Stroud in terms of the coaching and in terms of his wide receiving core and his tight end. You got a new guy back there with him in Joe Mixon, right? Defensively, we really ratcheted things up in terms of guys who can bring pressure to the quarterback, so it's not just Will Anderson Jr. getting double-teamed every single snap, which we saw a lot of last year. It's a problem we saw with J.J. Watt at different times back in the day, where when you have a guy who's clearly overpowering comparative to the rest of the line, he becomes the focal point for the blocking, and it kind of takes away. If you don't have other people who can, fill in the gaps per se, it screws you. So This is looking more and more like a complete, actual Super Bowl contending team. Now, another factor to consider, the expectations for the Texans next year, and I'm talking not even locally, I'm talking from a national media narrative standpoint. If they don't make the AFC Championship, it's a disappointment. That's where we're at. And we've never been there before. So that's new, and that's pressure. And that's something that when, CJ Stroud, historic, arguably the greatest first season for a quarterback in the NFL ever. If you don't think defenses are going to make an adjustment and cater to shutting him down, you're wrong, right? Obviously, he becomes the focal point of the game plan for every defense that we're going to go up against. Our schedule next year is no cakewalk. The expectations are very high. The pressure is going to be there. The potential of a sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud, albeit the fact that he would slump at all would still put him in a position to be pretty fucking great. All of those things are going to come into play. And this is where coaching becomes even more important. In DeMeco Ryans' second year as a head coach for these Houston Texans, he is going to need to be a stout leader that keeps these dudes with their heads screwed on straight, keeps them from succumbing to the pressure or feeling any of that national media narrative that they're supposed to be great, right? But this is it. This next 2-3 years is a really, really great window for the Texans to go and do something they have never done before, and at the very least make an AFC championship. And if things go our way, it takes a lot of luck in the NFL, as anybody that knows the NFL will tell you. Sometimes you build a roster and you're like, holy shit, we've done it. But on paper, it doesn't mean dick. Things have to translate on the field. And you have to avoid bad luck, get some good luck, and string wins together and battle week in and week out. Because like everyone knows, it's any given Sunday in the NFL. And if they want to make it to the AFC Championship, they're going to need to build week after week after week. If they want to make a Super Bowl push, the time is clearly fucking now. And it's very, very exciting to see. I'm very, very happy with the way Nick Caserio and crew have handled this offseason and this free agency and the re-signing and the guys we brought back, even the ones like I said, I think I said, I don't think they'll bring back Dalton Schultz. There was just a couple few drops here and there that I thought made him maybe not somebody we wanted to commit to longer term. I was wrong about that. And as I saw over the course of the few weeks after the Super Bowl, he was really the highest rated tight end that was available. So like not that challenging of a decision to make there. Noah Brown, same thing, right? But when you've got Tank Dell coming back healthy, right? You have to imagine that what we saw on offense with Nico Collins as well, what we saw on offense last season has a chance now in year 2 to become even more potent. The offense does. And the Texans, this is their shot. This is it. We've dreamed of being in this spot as Texans fans since the inception of the franchise, however many years ago that was at this point. And now we're finally there. We're finally there. It's a great time to be a Houston sports fan. Right now, it's also March Madness, as I said earlier. A lot going on, but, you know, in terms of Houston, the Cougars, a number 1 seed, play their first game tonight against Longwood at 8:20 local time. They're 23.5-point favorites as of me recording this, so this shouldn't really be all that challenging of a game. But like last time we saw the Cougars play in the Big 12 Championship, they kind of got blown out. It's like their worst game of the season. A lot of people are expecting them to come out angry. You got to know Kelvin Sampson's going to have them ready to play, but like the Cougars have a chance this year to go and win a national championship, which would be really, really cool. And just even further my point that this is such a golden age of Houston sports. So as somebody who, I went to Texas State University, I don't have a dog in the fight. My wife went to U of H. My brother went to U of H. I become a de facto bandwagon U of H fan, no doubt. So very excited to watch the Cougars play. I love March Madness. I don't watch any college basketball until March Madness comes around, and then I'm all in on it. I love it. Similar to golf, right? Like I don't watch a lot of golf, but when the Masters are on, I'm fucking all in. I watch every minute that I can. And yeah, so everybody who went to U of H, everybody who's a big Cougars fan, good luck tonight. Good luck over the course of the next couple weeks. And yeah, next week we start the Astros season, and that will be the focus of our show next week, talking Astros. And that'll do it for today's show. But remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available not only on the major podcast platforms, but also on youtube.com/@bangingthecan if you'd prefer to watch instead of just listen. If you're already here on YouTube, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, like this video as well, and do your thing. youtube.com/@bangingthecan. On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family, with all the Houston sports fans you know. That's the only way we can continue to grow the show. Word of mouth is the most powerful way to grow a show. podcast or otherwise. So thank you to those of you who share Banging the Can with others. Like our social media, share our social media, do what you can to help us out because we are a very small operation here run out of Austin, Texas, and we would appreciate your help. Go to bolenmedia.com to see the other shows I do, including the Ross Bolen podcast. That's the Ross Bolen podcast. Wherever you get Banging the Can, you can check out what is known as RBP. If you're an F1 fan, we've got Formula Bone at youtube.com/@FormulaBone and @FormulaBone on all the social media platforms with all the F1 coverage you need all season long. Follow our show on TikTok at Banging the Can, Instagram, Twitter, all the same handle, at Banging the Can. I'm Ross Bolen. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at WRBOLEN, WR Bolen. I'll be back next week. Until next time, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thanks for supporting Banging the Can. It means a lot. H-Town, stay down.